what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy it.
Brian Kelly adding to his band, and he definitely knows their names. LSU football is on the recruiting trail hard as always, and LSU got some more good news yesterday, and it concerns the offensive line again. LSU's been aggressive at that position, and yesterday, 3-star interior O-lineman Joseph Cryer, a.k.a. Big Hoss. Curious how he got that nickname, but I'll give it to him here, I guess. Cryer commits to LSU yesterday, the day after LSU landed 3-star tackle Ori Williams, and we'll talk about Williams momentarily, but Cryer did commit yesterday, and he is from Natchitoches, Louisiana native. He picked up an LSU scholarship last week. The team offered him last week, and when they did, he was already committed to Ole Miss, at least verbally. So he backed off of that as soon as he got the offer from LSU, and he made the commitment on social media. And I really like the social media post that we saw from Joseph Cryer. He posted the picture, the graphic of him committing present day. And then next to it, if you're not watching on YouTube, you can't see the picture. I'll do my best to describe it. It's Cryer as a baby. Looks like a pretty big baby. And he's holding an LSU purple and gold football. That's really wholesome. That has to be a full circle moment for Cryer. Growing up a Louisiana native, apparently being an LSU fan. LSU tradition runs deep. Like my parents, if you don't know the story, they came from Guatemala to Louisiana to attend LSU, and they just fell in love with LSU football. Like it's a huge part of the culture here. I grew up with that, and Joseph Cryer grew up with that. So he has to be really happy that he got that scholarship offer, and I'm sure he would have did fine at Ole Miss, but hasn't mean a lot to him to get that scholarship offer, especially seeing that picture and seeing how long he's been rocking with LSU. So that was a positive development for LSU. Like I said, they've been aggressive recruiting that position. Cryer becomes the 4th O-lineman in the class. So LSU already has commitments from him, Kyrie Lee, Ethan Callaway, and now Cryer. So positive development for Brad Davis and Brian Kelly and company.
Yeah, shout out to him. Very big baby in that picture. I'd be willing to bet that's probably how he got the nickname Big Hoss. Look, great player, real lean at his size. Ori Williams is as well. Williams 6'7", 300 pounds. Cryer right at about 295, 298. So real lean, not a lot of baby fat on those guys. They're going to come in. They're going to have a very soft learning curve, if you will. They should be ready to contribute here pretty quickly. I know Brad Davis is going to work his magic on those guys, just continuing to add depth to the offensive line. Because if you look at the O-line, a lot of people are like, well, that's a cause of concern. It is, but there's a lot of young talent on that O-line. I mean, we had 2 true freshman tackles last year starting. They're back. They're a year early. Garrett Dellinger's still a young guy. You bring in these 2 young guys. Bordelon's on the team. He redshirted last year as a freshman. So the future of the offensive line looking very, very bright.
Yeah, especially compared to the last few years, man. Like you were thin along the offensive line towards the end of the Ed O era and the start of the Brian Kelly era. The numbers are a lot healthier there. And I see some people in the chat like Emil question the depth, which is fair. But in my head, if they got through last year and now you have a more mature Jaden Daniels who will continue to be able to avoid the pass rush with his feet, you're in a good spot there. Hopefully LSU can navigate things there if some injuries do occur. But the present-day O-linemen, the guys that are slated to start, have had success in the conference, and now you have some big-name recruits coming in, including Ori Williams and Cryer for Coach Brad Davis. And speaking of Brad Davis, I just want to say I'm really happy for that guy. Like, it's been kind of a crazy road for him, but years later, he's found himself in a really good spot in a place that he's kind of alluded to as being his dream job because he's from Baton Rouge. He didn't play at LSU. He played at Oklahoma. He was part of the national championship team back in 2000, but, he's from here, and he wanted the job. He wanted the job because if you remember how he got the job, LSU poached him from Arkansas. He was on Sam Pittman's staff. He statistically, honestly, wasn't doing a very good job there, but that is a solid job, and it speaks volumes when, you leave there, not in the middle of the season, but shortly before the season to join LSU. And if you remember kind of how Brad Davis got started here, it was only because James Craig got fired. And James Craig did good work. He was the O-line coach in 2019 during the championship year, but he got fired, and it was in a sketchy manner. There was a lot of rumors about exactly what happened, but apparently he had contact with the recruit that he was not supposed to have. LSU's forced to let him go, and then they bring in Brad Davis from Arkansas, and it was a scary time for that coaching staff, for Coach O's coaching staff. Like, those guys didn't know if they were going to keep their job, and they let go of some beloved coaches here. I mean, Tommy Moffitt was a strength coach for the longest time. Corey Raymond was called the godfather of DBU, had coached up the defensive backs for a long time. Those guys were let go. Everybody was let go except for Brad Davis, and he's done really good work for Brian Kelly. And even before Brian Kelly came in, I will always give Brad Davis a lot of credit for coaching that Texas Bowl for LSU. Who are they? Kansas State, right? Against Kansas State. And I will never forget Brad Davis coaching that game. LSU didn't have to play that game, but just as a fan, and some of you may disagree, like I remember some of my friends were saying, why are they playing this game? You're risking injury. I really like the fact that LSU played that football game and finished the season. Although it was a losing record at the end of the day, they still played the game. There were programs like Texas A&M and others that were in a similar situation and ducked out of playing the bowl game, but I was glad that LSU played, and I was glad that Brad Davis coached that game. Baton Rouge native, got to be acting head coach. He took a lot of pride in that, and he should take a lot of pride in the work he's doing now with his offensive line here at LSU. Really good job with the 2 freshman tackles, like we mentioned, and now LSU doing work on the recruiting trail. So it's been kind of a cool story for Brad Davis. Got to be happy for him.
Yeah, you do. Like you mentioned, whenever you fire a coach, suddenly you got to bring in a guy, kind of throw him into the fire, if you will, and then he has to coach that bowl game. And look, I'm sure a lot of people, if you asked them privately, did not want to coach that bowl game because you knew it wasn't going to go very well. But look, Baton Rouge native, he stepped up, he did his job, and LSU performed probably a little bit better than most people probably thought they would, especially with a Jontre Kirkland at quarterback. But, you know, shout out Brad Davis, just a true LSU Tiger.
Jontre Kirkland, too. We some fighting Tigers. I'll never forget that speech. Those were dark times for LSU that have now turned into better times. So positive development if you're a Tiger fan.
Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.